Hi, Veronica. All right. Thank you all for being here. I think we've all met. Well, I met Farah in the last Zoom call. So this time I'm going to present to you guys Jose. And just to give you a little bit of background, Jose, Denise, and I are all in the same time zone. We're all in Monterrey, Mexico. And we're also friends. The funny thing, well, funny, not so funny. Jose is, I have two brothers. I have an older brother and a younger brother. And Jose is friends with my older brother. And Denise is really good friends with my younger brother. So that's how I know them. All right, so maybe we can do a quick whip around and you guys can tell me where you are and if you guys are sophomores or juniors or seniors or something. Elise, do you want to start? Elise?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry, I didn't hear you. I'm Elise. I am in Seattle, Washington, and I'm a senior.
Abby?
I'm Abby. I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I'm a junior.
Farah?
My name is Farah. I live in Seattle, Washington, and I'm a junior.
Hey, Farah, do you and Elise know each other? No?
No.
Oh, all right. Clara?
I'm Clara. I live in Edina, Minnesota, and I'm a junior.
Veronica?
Hi, I'm Veronica. I'm a junior, and I live in Singapore.
All right. So I'm going to hand this over to Jose, and he hopefully can tell us a little bit about what he does, and start with the questions.
Hi, how are you, everyone? I'm Jose Diaz. I'm here in Monterrey, Mexico. As Ali told you, I'm a friend of his brother, older brother, and I'm an environmental engineer from University of Florida. And I have a Master in Business Administration here in Monterrey, Mexico, and a certificate of industrial hygienist in Columbia, Alabama University.
Salud.
Gracias.
All right. So who would like to start with the questions, ladies? No pressure. Don't be shy.
I'll start.
All right.
I just, what exactly do you do as, an environmental engineer? What does your day-to-day look like?
Here in Mexico, as an environmental engineer, it's a little bit different from what I'm doing right now. What I'm doing right now, we are part of owners of a lab, environmental lab. The environmental lab, we do studies of all the pollution that the company has. I'm talking about pollution or emissions, like stack monitoring. Here, all the companies have big stacks, smoke stacks. Here in Mexico, we have to analyze it once a year. We analyze all the water that goes out of the company too, to see if they comply with the Mexican norms. Industrial hygiene, we monitoring everything that the worker is exposed to, like illumination, noise, vibration, fumes. We do all analysis. And also we analyze all the waste that comes out of the company or the factory, like if it's hazardous waste or it's not hazardous waste. That's what we do. Here in Mexico, we have the same thing as they have in the USA, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. So we have local norms the companies have to follow and they have to comply with, and that's what we do here in Mexico.
Great, thanks.
I have a question. What is the process like for monitoring industrial hygiene products? And what are some criteria that you have to consider in this process?
Here in Mexico, it's just almost the same as the U.S., the OSHA and the NIOSH departments in the U.S. We have the Secretary of Health in Mexico, or the Secretary of Labor here in Mexico. And the process that we follow, you have to do first a preliminary study to see how many workers are exposed to different kinds of like noise, illumination, substances, and fumes. And when you do the preliminary, you can tell how many points you have to do of noise, illumination, vibration, or fumes. And that's how we do it. And then we follow most of the American methods that you have in the OSHA and the NIOSH. Like we can analyze carbon monoxide, dioxide, metals, any metals that a company has under production, the fumes that come out of a machine, and that's how we do it. Like an example, if a person is working close to stample, big machinery, stample machinery, I don't know if you know, it's like they make parts of cars and they're of steel. So there's a big machine going down, working on the stample, and there's fumes because of the metal that they're heating, and also there are fumes because they're using some kind of oil to lubricate the metal, and we have to analyze that kind of that oil and that metal that is burning, and that's what we do. Also vibration, because the machines are really big, and it emits a lot of vibration on the floor, so we do the vibration to see if the worker is working in the right manner, so it doesn't get health problems with the vibration. And sometimes the reports will tell you, you know what, a worker only can work 2 hours a day because it's too much vibration that the body cannot handle it. Or you can work the 8-hour shift or 1 hour shift or 2 hours and may have to stop for 2 hours and then work 2 hours. Have like a 2 hour break and then to work 2 hours more. That's what kind of analysis we do.
So what kind of health problems could somebody have from those vibrations?
Most of them are in the bone joints. It's more like too much vibration. Your joints, they get, I don't know the medical term, but you get like arthritis.
Arthritis?
Arthritis. So, yeah, that's what I know about the labor, the Secretary of Labor tells us about.
Okay.
I have a question sort of relating to that. So you talked about some regulations in place to protect workers, but then also talking about like carbon emissions testing, and that I feel like that's very much to, I guess, not damage the planet. Do you see a lot of overlap between regulations that are in place to keep people safe, like with regulations that are meant to keep the environment safe?
Yeah, well, you have to understand there's two agencies. One is the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and the other one is the Labor Agency. It's the OSHA and IOS in the U.S. The EPA's environmental protection is so you understand. The EPA sees everything that comes out of the company, of the factory, like impacts the environment. And the OSHA and the IOS takes care of the workers. So sometimes you have different kinds of emissions on the worker level, and you have some kind of different emissions on the environmental level. We have the same system here, and we have we call that shell, the factory. Everything that goes out of the shell of the factory is EPA. You mean water, you mean emissions, and you need hazardous waste or waste that comes out of the company. That impacts the environment. And inside the shell, it impacts a worker. So that's why you can we do analyze carbon monoxide inside the company, and we analyze carbon monoxide going out of the company. And you have two different limits, because the environment can handle more than carbon monoxide than in the worker. The workers, the limits are so low, because as you know, carbon monoxide can kill you. And outside the company, you can get a little more of range of emitted CO.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
So if you find that a company doesn't comply with the standards that you have for them, what exactly would you do? Like, do you file a complaint where, and who takes care of like making sure that the companies, change their ways?
Here in Mexico, we, even in the States, we're an environmental lab. We work for the company itself. We just give the results. It's like when you take blood. When you go and take blood to see if you're okay or not, you take the lab sample, and then the lab sample goes to the doctor, and the doctor will tell you what to do. It's almost the same thing here. The company hires us to see what the emissions or the concentrations they have, and we emit it to the client, and the client will go to the consultant, and the consultant will tell if they're if they're polluting or not. But here in Mexico, laws are changing, like waste and water coming out of the company. We have to send it to the agency, to the environmental agency here at the government. At the same time, we give it to the client. So there's changes here in Mexico that if they pollute right away, we have to notice the agency right away and the client at the same time, and that's their problem. We don't know after that what happens. But normally the agency will go and knock the door the next day to the company and say, hey, what's going on here?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. You mentioned you have to analyze the waste every year. How long does it take to fully process all the waste and analyze it?
Well, not all the waste. There's characteristics here in Mexico of waste. Industrial waste, you have to analyze it. If it's the same waste, because companies, they produce the same waste because they're manufacturing the same product. So there's not many changes on the waste in some of the companies. So the government here in Mexico will tell you, you know what, if you have the same waste because you manufacture the same piece or the same whatever you're manufacturing, you can analyze the waste once every 2 years, the same waste to see if it's hazardous or not. When you have different kinds of waste, you have to analyze all the waste, the different kind of waste, and if the results comes as hazardous, you have to analyze it every 6 months, that waste, to see what kind of hazards you're emitting or you're wasting.
No, mi amor, nada más va a hablar el señor y le contestas normal. Okay. Órale, prende la luz de fuera.
I don't know if that answered your question, sorry.
Yeah, it answered. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? No? There were a lot of questions. I saw several questions on the page. I don't know if somebody wants to take any of those questions if they haven't been answered, so that Jose can help you answer them.
I'll ask one. So I'm doing a project on like the emissions from gas-powered cars versus electric cars. Can you talk a little bit about like the environmental impacts from car manufacturing and what sort of standards that these manufacturers have to keep up?
Yeah, you say electrical car is what? Sorry, Abby?
Like gas-powered car?
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand, electrical cars, they do emissions too, because they're a manufacturer, they have the emissions, and name it air emissions or solid emissions or water emissions, everyone has emissions. So we're human beings and we have to have emissions onto the environmental. So here the question is, I have read a lot of the difference between the gas and the electrical car. And we have to understand that the batteries on the cars, they're made of hazardous materials, really hazardous materials, like mercury, lead. And when the battery dies, there's a big problem where to waste those batteries, because if you put it on the water, a normal AA battery can pollute thousands of gallons of water. So right now, we're in the, what I have read, the best car jet for environmental friendly is like half gas and half electrical hybrids. That they're, for the miles it gives you on energy, is the best right now. Like the Prius from Toyota, I think is the most environmental car that we have right now because of the amount of miles it gives you for the power or the energy you put on the car. And it's the best one, and most of the materials are recycled. like the fenders and the metals and part of the motor. Also, they are recycled. So I think what I read is the least environmental impact car that we have today. So I think in the future it's going to be electrical everything, and that's where we're going forward with the cars more than gasoline.
So, Jose, once imagine that, what is it, a Tesla that is just battery operated or like electrically operated. Once that car doesn't work anymore for whatever reason, and you have to actually dispose of the battery, is there any safe way to actually dispose of that battery, or can it be reused for something else without harming the environment?
What I have read right now, I mean, the Tesla batteries are the top of the line, and they haven't. I think the first battery that Tesla made, it hasn't gone bad. Or the ones they having problems with are the ones that they crash and the battery breaks down. And right now, my understanding that they're putting on warehouses and they're containing all the hazardous material from the battery. They don't know. They haven't recycled that battery yet.
Okay. Thank you.
But I think in the future they're going to recycle them. The human beings will always figure out how to recycle things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Yes.
So how much of like your job day to day is in a lab doing tests versus, say, like visiting the sites, or like, yeah, what is your day to day look like?
My day today is to watch Netflix. No, just kidding. No, my day today, I mean, the lab, I've been with the lab 20 years. We're 100 people at the lab. We have offices here in Monterrey, a couple of cities here in Mexico. We have 5 labs around Mexico City. I'm more in the administration. I'm checking more about the expenses, the day-to-day routine, checking people if they're doing the job or not. When I started the lab, I used to go and visit the clients, do some analysis, tech monitoring. I used to go to the field, go to the roof, install the equipment to analyze the stacks, and I used to do a lot of industrial hygiene. I used to go there and measure noise. And when we hire more people and you change your role on the company, you can't do any more of the analysis because then was doing the administration work. So that's why I did the MBA, the Master in Business Administration, to be more in the administration part of the company. Where I know how to do everything from the monitoring to the analysis to the reports, so I know everything that's going on the lab.
Anybody else, ladies?
I could ask one more.
Yeah.
I realized I probably should have asked this at the beginning, but my question was, what inspired you to become an environmental engineer?
That was a long time ago. When I was living here in Monterrey, I saw that, well, I'm talking about 1993, 94.
When
Back
you people
then,
were not
remember,
born yet.
it was coming from the Industrial Revolution. A lot of companies were growing. I saw a lot of destruction on the environmental. So I knew there was an opportunity on the environmental aspect here in Mexico. So when I went to the U.S. to do my bachelor, first I was going to be a mechanical engineer, but then I saw, or one of my advisors told me there was an environmental engineer career. So I looked at the engineer department, and I liked it. I knew it was a future that we have to survive here on the planet, taking care of the environment. So that's why I became an environmental engineer. And also, environmental engineer, you get biology, you get chemistry, you get civil engineer. So it's like a combination of all the engineers, and that's what I liked. It was between an environmental engineer or biomedical engineer. So I went to the environmental engineer.
And this was in Florida, was that? No, where?
Yeah, that was in Florida, Gainesville, the Gators.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking that if you had stayed here in Monterrey, a lot of people stay in Monterrey at we have a big university called Tecnológico de Monterrey, but they don't offer that.
No, they don't have this
that major, right?
Monterrey. That's why at the beginning I started as a mechanical engineer because it was the normal career here in Monterrey. So when I moved to the U.S., I was in Florida. That's where I learned about the environmental engineering career, and that's and I like it. So that's why I changed it.
Veronica, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay. All right. Well, ladies, if you don't have any other questions, thank you for your time, and thank you, Jose, for your time as well.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care.
Thank
Be safe.
you.
Bye.
Have a nice day.